This channel focuses pretty heavily on pop culture fiction, things like comic books, anime, books, shows, movies, etc. And I know we're only 11 videos in and it's mainly been Marvel and Bleach, but I am planning to do much more than that. However, when it comes to being a true pop culture icon, one man stands out above the rest. And it's your mom.
Whoa, brother, whoa, now.
Guys, Batman is arguably the most widely loved superhero in history, besides Spider-Man, and it would be a dishonor to have our first DC video on the channel be about anybody else. And just like Spider-Man, in the last 2 decades we have gotten plenty of live-action iterations of the characters that have sparked new love for the Batman. But how? Why do we love the Bat so much? Why do we resonate with vengeance, with the Knight, with the Batman?
This madness.
Let's take a look at what each of the 3 most recent live-action Batmen have brought to the table, compare and contrast them, and see what really lies at the heart of the Bruce Wayne story. For each Batman version, we're going to take a look at 1. How they've generally been received by the public, 2. Positives and what they added to the Batman character, and 3. What they left to be desired. For this discussion, we're also going to take a look at Arkham Batman, because in my opinion, Arkham Batman is the purest and most true version of what a Batman can and should be. Also, before I begin, guys, we are super close to 1,000 subscribers. I am super excited and I'm planning to do a 1,000 subscriber special on camera when we get to that point, so please take a moment to like and subscribe if you're having a good time with these videos like I am. I praise God for all the growth that we've seen so far, and I trust him with all the growth that's to come. So, without further ado, it's time for the Batman Battle Royale. First up is Christian Bale's Batman, henceforth known as BatBale, and I would personally nickname him The Legend. For a number of reasons, the vast majority of fans would probably consider this version to be their Batman, kind of like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. This is the version of Batman that's been out the longest, with Batman Begins hitting theaters way back in 2005. And just like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I think nostalgia and growing up with this Batman are huge reasons for the massive edge this version has over the other 2, at least as far as the public eye is concerned. And please don't hear me wrong, that's not to say BatBale doesn't have his own merits, he certainly does, and we'll get to that soon. I just think, like with anything else, when we've grown up with something, we tend to look back on it with rose-colored glasses, and it holds a special place in our heart regardless of the facts. Fun fact, Batman Begins is actually my favorite movie in the trilogy, but more on that later.
We do not care.
Guys, the fact of the matter is, the epic Dark Knight trilogy is widely loved by many, myself included. It was the first set of movies that definitively reinvented Batman on the big screen and put him in the public eye as a seriously awesome character. And this is where we get to what BatBale's interpretation contributed to the Batman character. This is the first time we see a relatively darker, more serious Batman that is dealing with the trauma of losing his parents. Batman begins with us watching a young Bruce look up to his parents and paint them in this idyllic picture, only for us to watch them get gunned down right in front of him. And this really starts to paint the picture of a grittier, darker, more grounded Batman story. When it comes to standing up against the other 2 Batmen in this lineup, BatBale's greatest strength, in my opinion, is the epic story told across the Dark Knight trilogy. In other words, I think BatBale, so far, has the best story arc and the most fleshed out character development as a person. In Batman Begins, we see him struggle as he learns from the League and forms the ideology of the Batman persona, weaponizing fear and taking his first steps into this world. But on a greater scale, this movie is about Bruce learning to become more than what he's been given in life. He is more than an orphan, more than a rich, spoiled victim, more than a vigilante, and eventually more than just a man. Next, The Dark Knight sees Bruce learning just how much he has to sacrifice in order to be this symbol of justice and hope. He loses his chance at love and ultimately loses the love of the city he's given his life to protect, all for their sake. This movie also introduces the concept that Batman is a temporary solution, a band-aid that won't last forever. While that idea works for this story really well, I personally don't love this direction for the Batman, and I will talk about it later. Finally, The Dark Knight Rises is a beaten and battered Bruce overcoming years of disillusionment and loss to live the legend one more time and pass the mantle on. Jeez guys, I gotta be honest, just reliving the story in my head for the video is gonna make me tear up. It's so good.
You're gay! He's gay!
So, what did this version of Batman leave to be desired? While I completely understand the vision Christopher Nolan had for this take on Batman, and I love it, they're better action drama movies than they are Batman movies. The Dark Knight trilogy is meant to be an epic character study about a billionaire turned vigilante and what that would look like in the real world. This makes for some award-winning and very memorable movies, as well as some serious deviations from the staples of the Batman character. And while this isn't in and of itself a bad thing, if we're talking about the movies from the perspective of a Batman fan, many of the things that make Batman who he is are left on the cutting room floor for the sake of realism. Among the biggest of these things is Batman's iconic martial prowess and his untouchable skill as a combatant. Now, like I said before, Batman Begins is my favorite movie in the series, and that is in part because I think it does the best job of showing off BatBale's skill, power, and ingenuity. Really, this movie feels like the one where we see him as a threat the most. But aside from Batman Begins, these movies don't do a great job of convincing me that this is one of, if not the most dangerous fighter on the planet. The same goes for his intelligence and detective skills. BatBale tends to feel a little more like a very wealthy Marine with ninja training than the pinnacle of human physical and mental ability, which, as I said, works perfectly for this character and these movies, but lining him up against the rest of the Batmen, it does come as a weakness here. Also, as I previously mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the whole I don't want to be Batman forever storyline. One of the most indispensable parts of Batman's character is his obsession with the Batman persona. This is not just a side gig he does between shifts like freaking DoorDash. If anything, a true Batman story sees Bruce Wayne as the alter ego or the persona. Batman is the real identity underneath, and it seems like they flipped that for the sake of this story. However, I believe this was intentional on Nolan's part, as he wanted to drop the fantasy elements to create a more compelling, human story. In conclusion, BatBale is the realistic, story-driven Batman that focuses on the tale of a man becoming a myth and paying the price. The legend. Does Christian Bale's Batman hold up? Absolutely, and I think most people would agree with that assessment. Next up is the widely controversial Ben Affleck version of Batman, henceforth known as Batfleck. I'd give Batfleck the moniker of the Beast. As far as public reception, this is where things start to get interesting. Batfleck, like most of the DCEU, was met with widespread backlash at first, but has since grown on many people. I remember when movies like Batman v Superman and Justice League came out, they were met with mostly negative reception, and rightly so. Those movies were awful in my opinion. But since the release of the Ultimate Edition and the Snyder Cut, it seems like there has been a much greater love and appreciation for Snyder's vision of the character. But why? What have people come to see in Batfleck? The way I see it, what Batfleck brings to the table is essentially the opposite of what BatBale did. If Nolan abandoned the over-the-top superhero elements to tell a good story, Snyder went full-blown comic book nerd. Batfleck is, in my opinion, the version of Batman that is the most faithful to the source material, at least in terms of abilities and appearance. This is the only live-action Batman that can believably stand shoulder to shoulder with people like Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. Batfleck is without a doubt the biggest, strongest, oldest, and most lethal live-action Batman on this lineup, and it makes for an absolute spectacle to watch when it comes to action and violence. Straight up, if we were to put all of these Batman variants in a room and actually have them fistfight, Batfleck is crushing the other two with minimal difficulty. This Batman is a weary, battle-worn veteran who has seen and done it all over the last 20 years and has abandoned most of the principles that make up the Batman character. This includes his golden no-killing rule. Though, during his character arc with Superman, he rediscovers what it means to be a hero once more. If I had to summarize it, I'd say Batfleck excels in the cool factor most of all. This is peak human condition, billionaire, do insane things that don't make any sense Batman. However, Batfleck does leave quite a bit to be desired once we turn our brains on and start craving deeper character development. Specifically when it comes to the heart and story of this character, the other two Batmen leave Batfleck in the dust. Both BatBale and Battinson have a way more compelling and emotional story that invests you in their character development. There is a deeper level of resonance the audience has with their journey. This Batman excels as an action superhero movie star, but fails pretty hard as a moving character study on Bruce Wayne, the person. And yes, while he does have an arc in Batman v Superman and Justice League, It's basically just him realizing he's been a disillusioned, bitter psychopath and needs to be Batman again. I'm sure the solo movie he was supposed to have would have fleshed out his backstory a lot more, and hopefully he'll show up in future DCEU content so we can get a better read on him as a person. All in all, does Batfleck work? I'd say so. As far as adding to the on-screen Batman legacy, this version of Batman is by far the weakest for me. The biggest thing Batfleck left behind that makes him special is the warehouse scene. It is pretty awesome though, I won't lie. Last but not least, we have my personal favorite, the also controversial Robert Pattinson Batman, henceforth known as Battinson. We're gonna nickname him the newcomer. As expected, this casting was a bit of a mess when it came to public reception. There were many people that immediately wrote him off as, of course, the Twilight guy. Here is some HD footage of what those people look like. However, those of us with higher brain function know that Robert Pattinson has grown by leaps and bounds since Twilight and is actually a great actor. This was proven when The Batman was met with incredible appraisal, specifically for Pattinson's performance as the tortured and broken younger Bruce Wayne. As far as what Pattinson adds to the on-screen Batman legacy, man, there's a lot to talk about here. Battinson is a great balance between storyline and comic accuracy. Many people didn't appreciate the super gothic take on Bruce Wayne in his younger years, and I believe that's because they're used to the version of Bruce Wayne that was shown in the Dark Knight trilogy. For the casual Batman movie fan, they're expecting Bruce Wayne to be this snarky, action movie star. In reality, this is exactly how Bruce is in the source material, especially during his beginning phases. He is incredibly dark and broken, reliving his parents' death over and over again in his head. This take on a younger, angrier, grittier Batman is much more true to form for the character on a story level. While still maintaining surprisingly high levels of comic accuracy, the movie feels like it was pulled straight from Year One and The Long Halloween. Battinson is also objectively the smartest of these Batmen, at least in terms of what we were shown in their respective movies. Matt Reeves goes out of his way to make sure the audience remembers that Batman is the world's greatest detective, which the other two were sorely lacking in. And while he has yet to show off the full range of his fighting abilities since this is only Year 2 Bruce and he only has one movie at the moment, we can clearly see that Battinson has years of training and skill under his belt, just not as much experience or focus. This seems like a perfect segue to what Battinson leaves to be desired. The thing is, having only one of 3 movies out right now, and that one movie focusing on his early career, his first 2 years as Batman, there's a lot that we were left wanting more of come the end of The Batman. One of the biggest of these things was his Bruce Wayne persona. I haven't touched on this much throughout the video, but each of these Batmen has a very different take on their Bruce Wayne. BatBale has a very strong Bruce Wayne, arguably the best of the 3, though I think it might be at the expense of his Batman. Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne really leans into the idea of the billionaire douchebag, and he does it very well. Batfleck, on the other hand, has a very strong Batman and a pretty decent Bruce Wayne, managing to balance the humor and the douchery with the anger and darkness. Though we don't see too much of Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne, we see enough to know that he also plays into the billionaire, jerk, almost kind of like a Tony Stark aesthetic. And after 20 plus years of being Batman, this version of Bruce Wayne works for me. He does it well. Pattinson, however, is almost always Batman, with or without the cowl. And this is perfect for the movie because that's something Batman learns to develop as his career grows, an alter ego. So while this is expected, we definitely still want to see more of billionaire Bruce Wayne in The Batman 2. Also, it would be cool in general to see Batman level up in the cool factor over the years, upgrading his gadgets, his physicality, his fighting skills, and his overall presence so that he can stand against the other two a lot better. Right now, Pattinson is still in the infant stages of his career and can't really stand up to BatBale or Batfleck in terms of feats. But after this first movie, the trajectory is looking excellent. And just as a bonus, because I had to, we got Arkham Batman. Nickname, The Batman. Look guys, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This is the best on-screen adaptation of Batman ever. Whatever you feel about the individual Arkham games themselves, this is the most faithful representation of every major aspect of the Bruce Wayne Batman character to date. And we know that's true because we all judge the other 3 Batman on how well they fit this one. Arkham Batman came on the scene in 2008, the same year as The Dark Knight, and it took the world by storm. The combat we see from Batman in Arkham Asylum completely revolutionized fighting game mechanics from then on out, and it set the way for Insomniac Spider-Man to be such a success. Arkham Batman truly is the world's greatest fighter, world's greatest detective, and possibly world's greatest inventor. I could wholeheartedly see this Batman standing next to the members of the Justice League as an equal. Arkham Batman is in peak human condition, damn near superhuman. Solving mysteries and investigating crime scenes is an essential part of the gameplay. His humor is dry and matter-of-fact, and he's an overly intense jerk to everyone around him. He's perfect. Coming as no surprise to anyone, my conclusion is that Arkham Batman is pure, undefiled, and Batman in his rawest form. He does look goofy as freaking Arkham Asylum though, I can't lie. Well guys, there you have it. That is my general assessment of the 3 most recent live-action Batman iterations and Arkham Batman. For the sake of time, there was a lot I didn't get to go into in this video, so if there's other aspects of the Batman character that you would like to see me compare and contrast, let me know down in the comments. And of course, everything I did touch on in this video are all just my opinion, so let me know what your guys' are down in the comments as well. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you know when we got more heat on the way. And let's make it to 1,000 subscribers together, guys. I'm so excited. If you're ready, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.